to Go. I'm your host, Candy Deli, and today I'm speaking with special guest Brigitte Kingsley. She's the beauty behind 2007's comedy horror release, Dark Rising, and the brains behind Black Walk Films. Ms. Kingsley's actress credits include Frequency, starring Dennis Quaid and James Caviezel, The Pretender, and most recently the movies Medium Raw and Dark Rising 2, which she also produces. Welcome to Film Reviews to Go, Brigitte.
Thanks, Candy.
The first question I have for you, for those who haven't heard of you other than the intro, could you touch bases on how you got started in the industry?
Well, I started when I was quite young. I always wanted to act, so I bugged my parents to the point where they finally gave in and let me go out and get an agent when I was probably around 14, I guess. And then I did commercials and that sort of stuff through high school. I decided to pursue it in university, so I studied at York University. I got my BFA. And then when I graduated, I, for some reason, like most people, I guess, expected to have work right out of school. And I learned fairly quickly how difficult it is to actually have a career in the industry as an actor, first and foremost. So what I decided to do is I decided to start learning the business side of it. And there was a writer that I knew, Andrew Simic, and I approached him and I told him to write a script. And I said, you know what, if it takes me a decade to produce this, I'm going to jump into this industry and I'm going to figure out how to produce a movie. And that movie was Medium Raw. So he wrote it, and it took probably close to a decade, I guess, to finish it, since we just finished it. But it was a wild ride. I mean, I basically jumped on a plane, went to LA, knocked on doors. Started learning the industry by, trying stuff and failing and trying again. And in the process between us and getting Medium Raw done, I sort of learned the tricks of the trade and ended up producing Dark Rising as my first film far before I finished Medium Raw. So I did that in 2006. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Okay, now where I'm trying to come in on the chronological order, you're saying that Medium Raw was the first project. How did that come about?
Well, because Medium Raw was our first project, we were really attached to the script and to the idea of us being involved 100%. I absolutely wanted to produce it and act in it, and Andrew wanted to direct it, and he wanted to act in it as well. So as we shopped it around, we had offers of people wanting to produce the script without us, because we really didn't have any credits to our name. So we were a bunch of kids fresh out of school trying to convince people to give us millions of dollars to do a project. So we learned really quickly that people are not eager to do that, nor distribution companies or anybody else in the industry. So what we got is a lot of pats on the back going, well, good luck with that. So we walked away from every single offer that would cut us out of the deal. And then one day I knocked on the door of Black Walk. And Black Walk was a company that had been up and running for, a decade or so. And it had done a few Canadian films that had done very well. And we pitched the Medium Raw. And Michael Hairlade, which was the owner of the company, he loved the idea, wanted to come on board. But he had the same reaction where it was like, okay, well, we'll have to get some stars and to take the lead, and we'll have to do this and that. And so we ended up walking away. And then a few months later, Michael gave me a call, and he asked me about the movie, and he said, what's going on? Have you guys done it yet? And at this point, I had raised a couple $100,000 privately that I was sitting on, just waiting for the rest of the financing. And I said no. And he said, tell you what, I'll give you an office at my in my building, phone, internet, everything you need for 3 months. And you don't have to do a single project with me. All you have to do is pitch me the projects that you're working on and give me first dibs. So I thought that was a great idea. I walked into his office, set up shop, and they were in the middle of producing a project at the time called Peace of Mind, which was it was based on a band. And they had a lot of problems getting the rights to the music. So I felt that the project was kind of wavering. So what I did is I walked into his office and I said, hey, well, we're shooting something in, a few months, and it's kind of a horror, and I've got most of the money raised, but I still need about half. I'm like, so if you're interested, I can give you the script. And he said, tell you what, if you get me a script on my desk on Monday, if I like it and you can put it together within 3 weeks, then we'll shoot yours instead. So I immediately ran to Andrew and I called him and I said, look, you got 3 days to write a script. I said, because I just pitched a project that we don't have. But I know that, they've got some money sitting there and I know that they want to produce something. So let's take advantage of this opportunity and write something small and quick and see what comes out of it. So Andrew goes to the cottage and 3 days later he comes back with what I was expecting to be a horror film. And he's like, Bridge, I kind of wrote what I was feeling and I think it's a comedy. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what he says. So Michael took it home and he read it and he came back and he said, Bridge, this is a comedy. And I said, yeah, do you like it? And he said, if we can put it together in 3 weeks, let's do it. So it sort of started there, and we kind of ran around and produced our first feature film in that short period of time, and that was Dark Rising. And we had a great team, and everybody kind of did it for fun. We had Jay come out. We had been working with him for a character on Medium Raw, and that's how we knew Jay, which was Christian. We asked him if he wanted to be part of the project, and he said, yeah, write me in. So we wrote, Andrew wrote the part of Ricky especially for him, and he came out and shot for 3 weeks, and that was the story of the beginning.
Wow, that is an amazing story. I think I do remember reading that in a previous interview where you said he had like 3 days to come up with the script, but that speaks volumes as the type of writer that he is to come up with something like that in a short amount of time, and it's pitched and it's produced within that same time period.
Yeah, Andrew is one of those people where he is unbelievably talented. I mean, he's honestly everything behind all the projects we do, behind Dark Rising, Medium Raw. He does every aspect of it, whether it be, the writing, the directing. He sits and does a lot of the digital effects. He does all the editing. He sits with the musicians to get the scoring. So I just lucked out because I basically attached myself to someone very talented, and I just get to kind of sit back and watch him do the work.
Well, Brigitte, what you do is a far cry from simple. I mean, to get out there, hustle, get people interested in the projects enough to want to invest even their time. I mean, nowadays, whether you have the money raised or not, just to get someone's time and attention longer than just a few minutes to pitch your project, and someone who's coming back to you willing to invest in that speaks volumes of how you market and pitch projects. And your story is really no small feat. I mean, it takes a lot of guts, a lot of know-how, and perseverance to do what you did.
I usually joke around. I'm like, I might. The one thing that God gave me was perseverance, because I think, I mean, the amount of rejection you get in this industry is pretty incredible. So I think once we finally finished Medium Raw, the both of us just sort of didn't know what to do with ourselves because we couldn't believe that it actually came to an end. But yeah, it's a fun business. So.
Wow, and I'm glad we're able to dive deeper into that aspect of it, because I've run across people in the industry who they have a script and they're trying to get funding and they think it's, this song and dance and this glory thing, and they run out there to L.A. thinking that, boom, it's going to happen, and now 7 years later they're still trying to make it happen. So to hear the stories about people who it took 10 years to bring something to the table, not just, I met somebody or I had the hookup or somebody in the family, but truly what it's like to get out there and grind the pavement to make your dreams come true. And those are the stories I'm speaking for.
And I think the thing is, like, with people, it's like the one piece of advice that people need to remember when they're in the industry, it's like, it really does take a long time, and it's not where you do a little something and then you wait a month and then you do a little something and you wait a month. No, it's actually waking up every single morning and making phone calls and knocking on doors and physically breaking down, like, people that you don't know. And like, we've broken into people's offices where we've said, hey, this is our package, you got to look at it. I guarantee, I mean, most of them kicked us out and it went nowhere, but some of them actually took the time. And it's just, especially at the beginning. Like now it's a little bit different because once you have a project under your belt, people are more eager to listen. But those first few years, I mean, I think anybody going into the industry, the one thing it takes is that determination. You know, it's everything else is secondary because without the financing or without somebody deciding to back you, it's, you know, all the talent in the world can be wasted. So it's one of those things where I think if people don't give up, they'll get there.